And if you want to exit stage right or stage left. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, everyone. Really, really enjoyed that. And on the concurrent design that John mentioned, we did actually do an Innovation Hub session with the European Space Agency a little while ago on concurrent design, and we have a video of that conversation. So if anybody's interested, we'll send the link out to that concurrent design video as well when we circulate all the stuff from today and from the week. Okay, so how are we doing? Are we doing good? Feeling good? Yeah, you're looking good, I have to say. You're looking very good. So now we're going to talk about connected ports, and I'm really pleased to introduce Ruth Kelly, former MP. She's the Chair of Water UK, Thames Freeport, and board member at Heathrow Airport. She is the lead independent director of Gorilla Technology Group with a rich political background, former member of Parliament and cabinet minister in the Blair and Brown governments, followed by roles at HSBC Global Asset Management and St Mary's University. So everybody, let's welcome Ruth Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Joe, for that very comprehensive introduction. It's great to be here. It's great to be in BT Tower and to really get a feel of the facilities here. And thanks very much to the Port of Tyne for putting this together and sponsoring it and allowing us to really have an in-depth discussion of maritime innovation. It's fantastic to be here. I used to be Transport Secretary, so I've had a sort of deep interest in these areas, well, some interest in these areas over a long period of time. Clearly as Chair of Thames Freeport now, which encompasses London Gateway Port, the Port of Tilbury and Ford Dagenham Manufacturing, as well as the 3 local authorities behind it, I think about these sorts of things fairly regularly. And of course I have the interest in Gorilla Technology, and you've heard from our own Will Addison today, and I think you're going to hear from him again later as well. So I'm grateful very much for the opportunity to be with you here today. So anyone who cares about our UK economy should care about our ports. It's a very simple thing. It's a very simple matter of geography. Our ports matter more to our economy than to the economy of any other major country in Europe. When we hear politicians from either side of the political spectrum talk about the need for the economy to grow, and of course there is a dire need for our economy to grow, we all here know that ports need to be leading the way. And as I'm sure you've been hearing over the last few days, ports are also central to the decarbonisation challenge, one of the great challenges of our time. Shipping alone counts for 3% of global emissions, and if nothing is done, that's set to grow substantially by 2050. But we're here today to talk specifically about innovation and smart ports. How is it that ports are claiming such a central role today in growth and decarbonisation, and where do we go from here? What in fact is a smart port? Well, first of all, I think we've got to recognise that ports are constantly evolving. We've been hearing today from Mark and others about how some of that has been very disruptive. In 1992, UNCTAD, the UN Agency on Trade and Development, developed a conceptual model to characterise 3 generations of port, moving from the first generation of port with activities before the 1950s, which focused largely on the basic activities of the loading and unloading of ships, the second generation of ports in the 1960s, 70s and 80s, which saw the introduction of computerisation and industrialisation, and the construction of industrial facilities that connected the port to its hinterland. And while port operations were not coordinated, a close relationship developed between the port and the transport and trade partners. On this account, a third generation of ports emerged in the 1980s, driven by the containerisation of goods and intermodal transport. Ports turned into logistic centres, characterised by international trade development and intermodal transport platforms where the port and the terminal were integrated. And it was this third generation of port which really, arguably, facilitated the growth of international trade, a period that was characterised by the rapid development of information technology and the appearance of electronic data interchange systems. At that stage, additional road and transport links and rail links were put into place. Internet communications were needed for secure operations. And finally, the port established a relationship with the surrounding city to support its operations. So it was on this foundation that people started to talk about smart ports. And various authors went on to describe fourth, fifth, and even sixth generation of ports, where the port becomes the centre of a connected network with various stakeholders linked by a common port administration. And it's a port that's, in order to compete nationally, needed to build partnerships through mutual planning and decision-making, not a port that just emphasised consumer satisfaction. And for that to happen, it had to exchange data to maximise both consumer satisfaction and its value to its network. So Maritime 2050 has described smart ports in the following way. Smart ports, like smart cities, it says, will use a wide range of technologies, using data-driven and automated devices connected together within an Internet of Things. New data collection and analytic technologies and techniques can supply information for safer and more efficient management of resources. But I would argue that we can take things a whole step further than that. With the advent of smart ports, we can start to reimagine what our ports and coastal communities can be. Reimagine as hubs of innovation, as hubs of clean energy, as anchors of the local community, and as generators of the skilled, high-value jobs of the future. Ports connected to their communities, communities linked into their ports. Local people equipped to benefit from the opportunities of a high-tech, low-carbon sector and industries able to rely on local people. Now, we know that that is possible. Indeed, as chair of Thames Freeport, I can see firsthand the difference that ports working together can make on the ground. So just a couple of weeks ago, for example, London Gateway announced its first new tenants of the London Gateway Logistics Park. 2 manufacturers have chosen to invest in the site and create jobs in a significant expansion of their UK operations. So London Gateway has long been known for its state-of-the-art logistics park. But manufacturing? As a result of new incentives, manufacturing will be coming to the site for the very first time, creating high-value, high-skilled jobs for the local workforce. And change is happening at Tilbury too. Just a few months ago, the Port of Tilbury signed an MOU to develop 2 green hydrogen projects with RWE, the UK's largest power generator and a world player in renewable generation, and Mitsui, a global trading and investment company with a diversified business portfolio that spans about 63 countries. So yes, ports are gateways to the world, but they can also be critical players in tackling our national challenges and can act as vital contributors to local and community regeneration. So what do I think we need to do? Well, first we need to establish the challenges that ports and port communities are facing, some of which will be specific to a port or a community, and others which will be shared jointly across industries or communities. In our Freeport area, we've identified several key priorities to focus activity on. So I just would like to outline a couple of those very different examples to give you a flavour of the sort of thing that we're doing. The first isn't obvious, perhaps, but it's been identified as a major issue by our local authority partners. Housing retrofit to tackle energy consumption among council-housed and housing association tenants. We're building a whole value proposition around the supply of materials, much of which will need to be sourced from abroad, and the development of smart homes of the future. So I just returned yesterday from the Smart City Expo in Barcelona, where the Thames Freeport team, working with the Connected Places Catapult, signed an international partnership with the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham on our side too, and the Seoul Digital Foundation from South Korea. One of our first projects will be to create a smart homes hub. A pilot program will be run over the spring of next year with Korean SMEs co-locating in Barking and Dagenham and working on innovation in the retrofit and future home supply chain, reducing costs of retrofit, accelerating housing decarbonisation, building greater resilience in supply chains and presenting new opportunities for commercial land development and jobs creation in the region. So that's one example. Another theme we're focused on, I describe as an opportunity. We've all agreed to prioritise river freight, recognising that the River Thames has enormous untapped potential for handling light freight. We believe that realising the opportunities it presents could deliver new jobs, ease congestion and air pollution, plus help keep the nation on track to net zero. In fact, an influential new report from the Thames Estuary Growth Board has found that handling just 3% of the 700 million parcels delivered annually in London could make river freight competitive with traditional road freight. And that a focus on large-scale light freight suited to deliveries of food, beverages and retail goods would work best. So a digital twin freight model of the Thames Freeport region is being explored both with the government-sponsored Freeport's Hub and with Coventry University. The river freight programme will also consider the decarbonisation of vessels and infrastructure, in addition to the emissions reduction achievable through the reduction of HGV travel. We can envisage a future in which goods are imported to one of our ports, are loaded onto an autonomous river barge, delivered at the end of their journey by e-bike, by drone, or by hydrogen-fuelled van to the end customer. Both these opportunities and challenges require us to innovate and to work collaboratively. We need to understand, first of all, what the challenges are. We need to understand the data that we have and any regulatory barriers that we face. So for ports and coastal communities to really take advantage of the data they have access to and to become centre of innovation, collaboration will be absolutely key. And that's collaboration across private sector companies. It's collaboration between private sector companies and local authority partners. It's collaboration between private sector companies, local authority partners and central government. It's collaboration with the transport and logistics network that surrounds the port area. One of the central challenges we're thinking about at the moment is how do we share data across these various communities, some with 5G, private 5G networks, others without. Do we need regulatory change to enable that data sharing? Another key challenge will be having the right skills in place locally. As we know, port and coastal communities often face severe challenges of deprivation and worklessness. Looking at the ports of Tilbury and DP World, I can see the dire needs that local people have to be able to access these jobs of the future, and we expect over 20,000 jobs to be created directly over the next 25 years by the development of the Freeport. But of these 20,000 odd jobs we expect to be created, we want half of them to be filled, at least half of them to be filled by local people. Here again, we need to innovate. As we automate, we'll need a new generation of people coming in with advanced skills to use systems or even design new systems. So we're working collaboratively across our area with the three partners, the two ports and Ford, to identify the skills that we will need in the future. And then we'll work with our network of colleges, our institutes of technology, our universities, or indeed as yet unidentified skills providers, to ensure that we have the right courses and the right apprenticeships coming on stream at the appropriate time. So I see innovation in a sort of big sense. There's a huge amount that can be done, of which ports can be really key contributors and drivers of change. We have, as we've just heard, over 200 major ports across the UK, major contributors both to national and local economies. By being solutions-focused and by collaborating, I believe there is so much that can be delivered. Thank you.